Alright guys, so I'm starting to assemble this Scat 347 kit I got for my little truck. I'm gonna go over some of this the best that I can. This is the first time I've ever done one of these, so um, I put a motor together before, but this is the first time I've ever done um, connecting rods to the pistons. Um, so I'm gonna go over how I was instructed to do it. So this is your floating pin here. This guy here will slide out, and there's a direction for this engine anyways. There's an arrow that points to the front of the engine, so you got to orientate that correctly. Then the rod, if you look here at the rod, there's a large chamfer on one side. This is Scat rods anyways. These are, I don't know if you can see that, Scat T54. But anyways, there's a large chamfer on this side. There's a small chamfer on this side. The small chamfer goes rod to rod. The large chamfer goes rod to crank. That's very important. You got to get that right. So these little spiral locks, what I've been doing with them is, I don't know if it's absolutely correct, but this is what I've been doing. So I take and I spread these dudes apart. Like so. Then that goes down inside that groove, inside that piston. So the first one doesn't really matter when you do it, but the next one you got to put it through the rod and put the wrist pin through it before you put it on. Let me see if I can get an angle on this to where y'all can watch me put this thing in. It's kind of hard to do with one hand. So I kind of get it started down in the groove. You gotta be real careful not to damage your piston. Just gotta mess with it. You can get them. This is a little difficult to do and keep it in the video. But anyway, so you just get it started, and you just kind of follow it around, pushing it down in that groove. Sorry for cutting you off, but it's kind of hard to hold the camera and do this at the same time. But anyways, that's kind of what it should look like once you get the spiral lock and the wrist pin opening there. So the next side, you will, of course, the wrist pin's got to go in, the rod's got to go in, and make sure you follow the orientation, make sure it's going the correct direction. Then the next spiral lock you put in on top of the wrist pin, so it makes it a little easier to, because it won't push through the groove, because the wrist pin will stop it from pushing through. And before you put either of the rod or the wrist pin in, you got to use assembly lube on them and make sure they're lubed up real good. And I'll catch you back on. Okay, so there's the wrist pin in the hole, and I find that the next spiral lock is much easier because that wrist pin is in there. It keeps it from pushing through the groove. But anyways, you just open it up like I showed you before and just kind of follow it around with a screwdriver into that groove. Then double check to make sure it locked in there real good. Then that's how you do that. Okay, so that's what it looks like all together. I mean, if you look up in there, you can see that pin, or that spiral lock is in the groove all the way around. You got to make sure that it is. Can't any of it be hanging out. It's got to be in that groove. A little hard to see, I understand, but you'll see it once you start putting it together. That's what the assembled rod and piston looks like. I did measure all these just for my reference, and you know, they're 30 over pistons, and you know, this one's like 27.5, you know, so it's pretty doggone close. Excuse me, 40.275. So it should be 4030 to be perfect. So it's pretty doggone close. And also notice the arrow on the piston towards the front of the engine. And this will be on a bank that rides on the crank. So there's the large chamfer. And if you can see, this chamfer on the other side is much smaller. That goes rod to rod, small chamfer, bearing, rod to crank, large chamfer. So the next one I install, the writing on the rod will be on the other side, because the writing on the rod seems to be on the side with the large chamfer on every one of them. So the next one will be like this. It'll look like this, opposite the arrow on the top. Alright, I think I got these correct. And if you notice, all the arrows go in the same direction. All four of them. And note the numbers on the ends of the caps there. Those are very important. So they go together when you put this in the motor. These numbers go together. And also with these pistons, it comes with a see this ring here. So it comes with the pistons, this little ring, and so this goes on, and then your other rings go on top of it, you know, on top of this. So that's got to go first, and that ring itself comes with the piston. The rest of the rings come separately. So there you go.